Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 335, part 2. Cut off the conversation that was happening backstage here. So hopefully you guys can find this. Tonight, for part 2, we got to go a little bit different. Ray Cheshire hopefully can find it.
No, he's watching.
Is he?
Yes, he's watching.
All right, because he just commented on it. Is this part 2 on the last page? So hopefully you guys can find it here. This is part 2. Tonight we're doing community Q&A along with some help from Nate's deck of cards. That's what we're going to call it. So, but this is where we kind of go off script, kind of do typically a life topic or something like that for part 2. The first part, I'm still smoking. Everyone still kind of smoking? Yeah.
Yep.
We had the featured cigar here tonight. It's the La Gloria Cubana Los Gloriosos. Apologize for the typo there, but Los Gloriosos from La Gloria Cubana. So listen to part 1 for our comments on that, along with the featured drink tonight, the Kamiki Malted. And that's thanks to Sean Wilkinson. Thank you for bringing that.
Yep.
I also want to thank our sponsors, Tinder Box at Easton. They're the ones that carried the Los Gloriosos from La Gloria Cubana. And I want to thank Forged for sending that to us as well. We also have Altadis USA. So what we're going to be lighting up here shortly is going to be the H. Upman Nicaragua by AJ Fernandez. And this is going to be something that you can do on the Roche clip.
Well, Sean mentioned it. So I was like, wait.
I get like a 3-pound one too, like that.
Nope,
Nice.
I'm good.
But yeah, thanks to Altadis USA for that, along with some of their brands behind us. Monte Cristo, Romeo and Julieta, and Adrian, among others. Trinidad, we've had a lot of those on there as well. You can see this beautiful ashtray in front of me, the Monte Cristo yellow ashtray. You can find it in some of your retailers as well. And the BS Cigar Company, the gold and silver are available. The gold's made by Plasencia and the silver is made by Espinosa. So check them out as well. And then also want to thank you guys out there, patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast, and also Venmo for one-time contributions at Bourbon and BS. But if you go to the patreon.com page, you can set up a monthly contribution, and that's going to be anything from whatever you want, $1 as high as you want. But we appreciate those continued contributions to the show. Keep this thing going. At this point, it's self-sustaining. We're not making anything, but we enjoy seeing you guys every other week. So thank you very, very much on that. And last but not least, buyjack.com/BourbonBS for any of the shirts that you see us wearing tonight, actually, on the show. We got the podcast shirt that I've got on. We've got the When the World Hands You Some BS lighted up shirt that Sean has on. And then the BS Cigar Company 3/4 sleeve. Look at that. He's modeling it. That's great. All right.
It's not you.
Moving on. Buyjack.com/BourbonandBS. And you too could look like these idiots. Tonight, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to do community Q&A. So if you guys have some of this stuff, Ray's just pissed. Sorry to put you out and have.
I'm not impressed.
Yeah, not impressed. He said he had Tyler back on the feed for a couple of seconds, then remembered it should be Sean. We all got here, which is good. So yeah, this is something that hopefully you guys, if you're listening, you can if you listen live on Facebook, especially, that's where we see you. If you're doing YouTube, I'll try to click over to some of the comments as well if you put some questions up there. But please ask any questions or have any comments, put it on the feed. So I am going to click over here, get off the feed, and see what we had on the community page first before we get into Nate's deck of cards. You love that, don't you? We could start with Kristen's, and that was wedding and marriage advice, but I don't know if you guys want to give that on the air or not. You can.
No, I got a 24-year wedding anniversary coming up next week, so I'm doing something right.
Is that your advice?
Yep. All I can say is I'm doing something right. Good luck.
Your advice is do something right. Got it. Okay. Okay, good.
He's a simple man.
Nate, you got anything?
I think communication is the key, man.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's so important.
Yeah,
Worst thing you can do is lock that shit up, or and sometimes it takes a little bit to coax each other out of if they have an issue or what they're thinking about. Because when early in a relationship with my wife and I, we both would be like, my wife a lot would be like, what's wrong? Nothing. Well, bullshit. And it used to be like I would badger. Now I've learned it's like when you're ready to talk, you let me know and I'm all ears. Whereas before I was like, I know something's wrong. Blah, blah. And it's like, just let them process it, but let them know that you're available to talk. And I think the big thing too is when I used to.
So you're the woman in that situation.
Sure. Whatever you want to call it, Nate.
It's 2025, man.
Yeah. But I think the big thing with that too is it's just when they finally come to talk to you, because usually what's going to happen is they have a problem with you or it's something that you did. And I used to get defensive before I even heard what you were going to say.
Right? Yeah.
But now I'm more like, I'm just going to listen. I'm not going to interject. And a lot of times just them getting it off their, either side, anyone getting it off your chest is more therapeutic than you realize, because now it's out. At least it's out. And now you can look at it as okay, they've vented. And if you start getting upset, it's like, all right, cool. Let me process this. Give me a second. Let me either step away if you're going to start getting really pissed or defensive, so you can both come at it at so your emotions aren't involved, and it allows you to, take in what they said and be able to process it and then go from there.
I like it.
It's one of my things. Yeah.
Well, I think also you also have to recognize whether or not the person is saying what's going on because they want help or they want advice or an opinion, or if that person's saying something just to vent.
Yep.
Like sometimes people just want to, like, all right, you want to know what I'm dealing with? Cool. Here's what I'm dealing with. Here's what I'm going through. I don't need any input from you. I don't need any advice. This is just what I'm dealing with. I got to figure it out. It's helpful to have someone who's there with you to help you go through it. But it's like, no, I'm the one who's got to deal with this. Like, I gotta figure it out. Like, I gotta do what's best for me, for us. But like, I gotta figure it out. I don't need a 20-minute lecture.
But the one thing is, if they're venting or just let them vent and try. The whole adage is men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Is like a lot of times they just want to vent and they don't want you to solve the problem. So for me, I work in an environment where I'm always solving problems. So I'm always like wanting to.
You're solution oriented.
Yeah. So, but a lot of times it's like, well, you just shut up and let me vent and walk away. There's a funny video where this woman and her husband, or wife and husband, are arguing. She's like, it's this pain. It's like right here. And
I've seen that video.
Pan out and there's a nail in her head. And he's like, I know it. He's, don't tell me what to do. I'm just saying you just need to listen. And he's like, okay.
And I keep snagging my sweaters.
Yeah. But it's true. It's like, and it's hard. It's very hard, as I think, at least for me, to not want to be like, oh, I can solve this, but they just want to vent. And it goes back to, that's a very therapeutic thing, but best thing you can do is listen.
Well, and the thing that
situation.
The thing I discovered earlier this year when my wife and I were having one of those heart-to-heart conversations, it was like, oh, so we're both feeling this way, but neither one of us said anything about it before. It's like, well, shit. And then all of a sudden she says something. She's like, well, I thought about doing this. I'm like, you don't ever have to ask, like, is it okay? Like, no, whatever. Like, that's cool. Like, you don't need to ask my permission for that one. Just go for it. But it's like, oh, you and I both had the same expectations and the same desires. We just never communicated them. And it's like,
yeah, but for her, she did have to ask. That's the thing. You know what I mean? That's all part of it. Communication styles, right?
Yeah. Well,
to you, it was like, oh, it's no brainer, but to her, it's maybe it may not have been.
Well, for what that particular issue was, I was like, there's not a guy on this planet that would sit there and say no.
You want to eat steak tonight? I got it. Yeah.
There it is.
Perfect. Yeah.
There it is.
No, it's perfect. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been. It's funny, Ray's marital advice, and moving on, and then he's
nobody there's listening.
So I don't know if he's making points. I know what he's actually doing, but I mean, I'm going to say this is that he's probably making some great points. It's
I hear what you're saying, Ray. I'm not going to try to fix your problem. I'm just going to listen to you, man. So just let it out.
Ain't butting it out, that's for sure.
See, and take my own advice.
Right. I don't know. I think that this is, you know, for both Kristen and I, this is our second marriage, and going into it, there's definitely a different level or a different caliber of intent of one. Like you're always choosing to do it, but you know, for us, it's and in a sense, luckily, we don't have any kids involved. You know what I mean? So it's just us at a later age, and we've learned a lot from our previous relationships and our years. But we're almost. I like to look at it as we're fortunate to go into this with more sense of age, and I don't know about wisdom on my part, but wisdom on her part, and it's just the fact that we're doing this intently, and we're doing it in a sense that communication, like the things you guys are talking about, for us going into we're 3+ years into being in a relationship and now starting a marriage together shortly. It's just it's a different feeling, because the things that you get that I would give advice to for people in relationships that are struggling and stuff like that, if they asked, it's what we're going into it with. You know what I mean? We're still gonna have our struggles. We're still gonna, we do. I mean, we were like any couple. You have those issues and those disagreements and the arguments and all those negative things. But everything else is kind of like, no, we're choosing to do this, and that's the agreed upon thing. So I can't predict the future. I'm not saying that there's no chance that this would not work out, because things are unpredictable. But to the point going into it is, it's a much calmer feeling. It's that kind of sense of going into this marriage, the wedding and everything else. The most stressful parts of it are the wedding, you know what I mean? Yeah. And even that's at a different level, but you know, stereotypically accurate. She's doing a lot of the work as far as that goes to line up all the final details of everything. But I mean, there's conversations that aren't always smooth, but it's just kind of like, all right, it's not necessarily the fixing it thing, which I do have that characteristic as well, but it's more the, okay, we can either, and we had a conversation tonight. It's like, okay, you're saying this and it's not a big deal, but it's like, is this going to be a big deal up until the wedding? And if it is or isn't, but like, do we want to stay here, or do we want to come up with the next step? You know what I mean? There's a difference there of me trying to fix it anymore, that it is kind of like, just in a sense, like I'm listening to what you're saying. So like, where do we want to go from here? Do you want to stay in this moment? That's fine. We can do that. But if you want to like try to troubleshoot and problem solve, like change something, we can do that too.
That's a good idea.
It's a different mentality going into it, that it's same team. The goal is to do this again. I say it, and I think that's, if I have any advice, even though I'm the one getting married, it's to remember the intent you have behind why you're together, because a lot of times that's lost. And then all of a sudden, if you don't communicate, like you were talking about, both of you and Nate, what you were talking about, it's like you hold on to that. It doesn't get better unless you actually have a conversation about it. Yep. I mean, it seems so fucking simple, but it's such a failure on so many people.
I think too, I didn't really take into account, since you brought it up, and it makes sense. I think you guys both learned, you know, like you said, you guys are a little older, and you've learned from your first marriage, and that in itself is a definite advantage, because, you know, everybody learns from their mistakes, learns from whatever they do in life. And I think you guys have a pretty good idea of how each other tick and how you guys are. And, you know, I see it, you guys seem like, to me, a solid couple. And I think this is just another step in your relationship. Just going to obviously solidify you guys to be together. But I think you guys are a great couple, and you guys are definitely on the right track. And I, you know, just keep doing you, man. You guys keep doing yourselves, and I think that'll be fine.
Yeah, it's different when, like, this time around too, with the wedding, it's like, it's our wedding. Like, you know, doing the first time around, or, you know, to people, it's like you do everything for everyone else. And then with this, it's like, it's our wedding. And after that, and before that, it's our life. You know what I mean? You want to make people happy that are important to you and your family and everything like that. But at the same time, it's like, this is our life. And that's also another thing that I think is forgotten or kind of put behind the priorities there. And I do want to raise a glass. Happy first anniversary to Ryan Venrick and his lovely bride. So cheers to that. Cheers to how many years?
24.
When?
Monday.
Monday?
Yep.
Cheers to that.
Thank you.
Anyone else we can drink to out there? Let us know. We'll do a cheers for you.
Let's drink to Ray.
Drink to Ray.
We're drinking because of Ray.
Come on. All right, let's do a first card here. What do we got?
All right.
Are these in order or are these random?
Random.
Okay.
What's the lamest pickup line you've used and did it work?
It's a great follow.
Although I'm going to preface this because I've never used pickup. What's the best pickup line you've heard and did it work? Because I've got a story for that one.
Well, I'll tell you, mine was, I never really did it. I was just more of a, hey, what's up kind of thing. But for my wife was, mine was not really, you really find out she worked the same office that I did. And she came in to borrow a computer in our office. And I was eating an orange.
You're really painting a picture.
And I walked up
what time
to her.
Of day was it?
It was, I don't know.
Orange, you glad?
I walked up to him like, hey, how you doing? I'm good. Want to bite of my orange? No, but thank you. And then it was like, well, she said no, but thank you. I'm going to keep talking. And we kept talking.
That was your end.
And I didn't. And then it was like, hey, how long have you worked here? Blah, blah, blah. And then I think I just kept peppering her with questions. And finally she was just like, Jesus Christ, dude. I went.
What is wrong with this guy?
But
yeah. Ryan said key to a long marriage is citrus.
Hell yeah, man.
So I met Kristen at a bar watching the Bears game in Columbus, which no wonder there's only a few of us here in this town that like the Bears. So odds went up real quick.
Yeah.
But it was funny. A lot of things. She actually put this on the feed there is insulting Andy Dalton because that was the year the Bears had drafted Justin Fields, and Andy Dalton was the starter, and everyone wanted, especially around here that weren't Bears fans, they wanted Justin Fields because he's OSU. They wanted him to start. Poor
guy.
And it was funny because her and I were talking because her friend sat down next to me at the bar, and so she was the Bears fan that showed up. They told me about, and so we're just talking. And there was really no, I mean, at the time it wasn't even flirting. It was just talking to people at the bar, girls. Obviously they're cute, but nothing really. Told the story before on the podcast, but she was like, we were talking about it, and she said Justin Fields is better, and also Andy Dalton shouldn't play, blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, no, I think the best thing to do is you play the veteran for a year and let the rookies sit behind them and try to learn, and then Justin Fields could play last year. You sound like my dad. He says the same thing. It's the same thing, and so then like her and I to the best part about it that it came to fruition, and I know she probably regrets it a little bit, but weeks later, because I would happen to run into them again, watching some football games, and she was asking me because she was actually going through a separation at the time, and she knew I was very passively trying to do like dating apps at 40 something years old. And she's like, like, how's it going? And I'm like, it's not great. Sucks as you hear. And I said, it turns out that a single, no kids, divorced, 40-some-year-old that drinks whiskey and smokes cigars basically for a living isn't much of a turn on for most girls this day and age. And God forbid I voted for Trump because I should swipe whichever way it is that, that was the thing in like 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, that was on the dating profiles. You're like going through it, and it was just like all of this stuff. And I'm like, no one's going to like me because I had like I'm smoking cigars in my profile or whatever pictures. So she's like, well, actually, that doesn't sound so bad. And it was like, there it is.
There it is.
She said, that doesn't sound so bad to me. I'm like, all right, well.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. And now we're getting married. Still smoking cigars and drinking whiskey in our garage in our new house. Cheers to love.
That's great.
All right, Nate, let's hear your story. You said you got one for this.
So I've never I've never been one for pickup lines. I've never used them, but I witnessed one that was just I never would have
To
thought.
you?
No, not to me.
Oh,
I watched a coworker do this. So it was when I worked for LFD, the newest rep on the team. So we were all outside the hotel having dinner, smoking cigars on the patio, and the new sales rep walks into the restaurant to the host desk, and there's the hostess working.
oh God! Hit on the hostess.
He lays down his business card
Mm-mm.
and goes, "You're going to want to call that number later," and then walks back out.
Oh my gosh.
That's what he did.
How long did it take her not to call?
Oh no, she called later on.
No.
Oh yeah,
Where were you guys at?
Miami. And so he's like, hey, you know, she called me, she messaged me. We're gonna go up to the balcony on the 11th floor where there's this giant outdoor balcony with pool and all this stuff. And
Wow.
he's like, call me at 3:00 a.m. and you know, just to make sure I'm still okay.
He was worried.
He was worried. So
I'd be worried.
So I set an alarm for 3 a.m. It goes off. I call him like, hey man, you all right? He goes, yep, I'm good. I'm like, all right, click.
Wow.
he showed back up in the room at about 5 a.m. And then the next morning when we woke up,
the police were there.
no, then he tells me the story of how the night went. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like it worked out well for him that night.
Good for him.
Wow. What an asshole.
Hey, it worked, man.
Yeah, he literally just, you're gonna want to call that number tonight.
Wow.
It worked on her.
All right. Are they still together?
Fuck no, it was
I
it was a
know,
one night stand.
I know. Obviously, I know that. It was a joke.
I was kind of hoping they would be.
They've got 2 kids together. They're
Yeah.
very happily married in
Yep.
Miami. Do we have another one?
All their invitations came in business cards.
You're gonna want to show up. Wedding registry. You're gonna want to go to this site. Jesus, she's gonna want to say I do. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Move on.
I think I know the answer to this for some people. Would you rather be bald and jacked?
Didn't we have this question already?
No. Would you rather be bald and jacked or a shrimp with great hair?
So basically, you want to be like Steve.
Yeah. Do you want to be like? Do you want
I'd
to be
like
like?
to be bald and more
Do
jacked.
you want to be like Steve or do you want to be like Ryan Newman?
Oh shit!
Wow. That's
Oh,
good head of hair is something. I'll tell you that. That's something I don't have. I'll tell you that also. All right, you guys answer.
bald.
I got no choice.
I've shaved my head before, and I didn't mind it. It was shouldn't have done it in the winter. It was fucking freezing.
You need to wear a
Did
cap.
not really
You need to wear
weird.
a
I
cap.
didn't realize how cold I would get. Like, oh, I thought that was just a bunch of bullshit. I'm like, nope, that was fucking cold, man. It was freezing. But no,
Beanie's your best friend.
yeah, I probably
Longer
eventually do
you
that because
think
I'm
it-
losing it already. So I'm gonna eventually go bald anyway. So fuck it.
I held on to it as longer than I wanted to, but not nearly as long as other people.
Yeah.
Nate, how about you? Good head of hair, and
Well, I mean,
you kind of not shave, but you buzz it.
yeah, I do.
Voluntarily.
And I've always like before COVID, I always
Is it full? Turn your head back. Yeah. No, it's full.
it's full.
No real bald spot.
Yeah. That's why I thought one of my coworkers was older than me because right here in the middle, and I'm like, oh shit, you're like 5 years younger than me. Like, feel sorry for
Hey man, some of us lose our hair earlier.
you.
Had a receding hairline in college.
Oh, I had a coworker in college, freshman year. He's 18 years old, and he had salt and pepper. I mean, he kept his hair at like 2-3 inches, but he was salt and pepper at 18.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys didn't really answer the question.
No, I'm bald and jacked.
Bald and jacked.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Ryan?
I mean, I'm lucky enough. I'm kind of the main one, so
Hey, you got a full head of hair.
hang on there. I've never been a really jack guy, so I'd probably go with the hair.
There you go.
So Ryan picks a shrimp with great hair.
High school at 140 pounds.
I was 145.
Same. I was about the same.
I was
A few
180
ounces
when I
since
graduated high school.
What are you now?
205. I've lost weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have.
You look
You look
good,
great. And you also shaved your beard on those Facebook memories that come up.
I know. Oh, when
Holy shit.
when I
Never
had-
again. Just don't.
During the whole every podcast, it was
If you're ever,
yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. So
like,
if you're ever full blown
so-
homeless, we're gonna buy you a razor.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So the story with that was, like, before COVID, this is what I had. And then when we all got sent home and it was supposed to be for 2 weeks, but we'll see how it goes, I said, all right, I'm going to not shave my beard until we go back to the office.
God damn it. I wish that was the 2-week learning.
and
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
yeah, right. And
Just send in pictures of Nate. Please. The curve. Yes, flatten. Let it go.
dear Dr. Fauci.
Dr. Fauci, look at this guy. What's worse?
Right.
Because
because then I kept the jawline trimmed, but then I just let the chin part grow out, and it was down to here. It did look terrible.
Fucking zero top.
I eventually did trim it to go to a wedding for one of Jess's coworkers. I didn't want that to be their first impression of me.
I remember when you shaved it off. I'm like, dude, something's missing. What is it? Your whole face is
Jesus,
visible.
what happened to your face?
Well, yeah. Hell, recently I've thought about getting rid of the whole damn thing and just starting over.
There you go. That's a fresh feeling.
Oh gosh.
And when's the last time you guys did full on baby face, like shaved completely?
I didn't. I mean, there was a time where I did the beard trimmer almost completely, but I didn't go full blown clean shave.
Yeah, that's what I do. I don't like.
Yeah.
I'll leave. Some.
I was like you, and people thought I had like done clean shaving,
Mhm.
and that was probably early 21.
Wow.
Yeah. So
My
it's been
dad,
4
same
years.
way. My dad, since I've been alive, I've never seen him
Yeah.
clean shaven. He's
Yeah.
always had a face. Wouldn't know.
Golly,
like
Kristen, besides maybe I don't think she's ever seen me with. Yes, I know she's never seen me clean shave.
Yeah. I want to say maybe 2018 was the
Okay.
last time I was clean shave, because the first time I ever grew my beard out, I went 7 months without, like, I didn't even trim it. Like, I kept the neck clean, but like everything else, I just let it go. And then finally went to there was a place at Easton that did the straight razor shave.
right.
Art of shave.
Art of shave.
Yeah. that's
Yep,
the one there.
Yep, I had a gift certificate there, so I went there and they did the whole straight razor shave and everything, and then I kept that going for a couple more years, I think, because when I worked at Patel, I had to be clean shaven all the time. My manager, because we had to wear a full face respirator, so you can't have facial hair because it prevents the respirator from making a good seal against your
Mhm.
skin, and so like I would shave on Sunday night every week
Mhm.
because my facial hair grows so slow that by the time the work week's done, like, I'm still okay to pass. So my manager there didn't think, well, she thought that my facial hair was too long. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to schedule my respirator fit test on a Friday, and I'm going to see whether or not I pass that fit test. And so, shave Sunday morning or Sunday night. Friday, I have the fit test. I pass the fit test. I'm like, there you go. There's proof I don't have to shave during the week, because I hate shaving.
Next question.
Oh, this actually pertains to some current events.
If you guys have any questions on the feed, please.
Yes, please, dear God. Which would you last longer in a fight against? A grizzly bear or a gorilla?
Oh, Jesus.
I say grizzly bear
Mhm.
Why?
because I could probably, I don't know, depending on the surroundings, I feel like I could. So
Can you climb a tree?
Well, they can climb too.
They can
Yeah,
too.
but the gorilla with opposable thumbs, like I feel like they're going to be able to get around a lot quicker.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's more level playing field as far as like the skills of being tactical, right? So but they're bigger and stronger and meaner, and they're going to win. So I don't think I could like run away as good from a gorilla. Grizzly bear, I'm not saying I have good odds there, but it's like depending on the surroundings, I might be able to hide and get in somewhere.
Maybe scare it off.
Play dead. I don't know. Okay, there's a follow-up question. If you had a grizzly bear attack and they say you should play dead, what would you do? Would you try that technique and let that bear literally like in the space of like this garage? Not just in a garage.
I wouldn't lay down in front. I'd give it a chance to try to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I don't think it worked that well for Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant.
Spoiler. Jesus, Nate.
You don't really have a choice.
We didn't give. I think fight or flight. You're gonna fight on both of those. So I think that you got a better chance against a bear.
I'd say better chance against a gorilla because a grizzly bear, even full grown, can still run 35 miles an hour, which is a fuck ton faster than a gorilla.
How mobile are they though? Like with like zigzags?
Oh, they can move.
I heard like if they chase you, go down a hill and zigzag. I heard that you can get away from them a little bit better. But gorilla's like, I know what you're doing. I can do that way quicker than you.
Yeah.
Once he gets his hands on you, you're done.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
And again, hands. Opposable thumbs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, feet, hands too.
Yeah, right. Like,
yeah. Remember the movie Congo?
Yeah.
Don't give it away. You already gave away one movie, one answer. Talk about Congo.
It's fucking 30-year-old.
All right.
I saw it in the theater in 92.
I have some younger viewers out there. Probably not. Go ahead, Dave. Let's keep it going for a little while here.
Which of your family members are you like the most?
I'd say my mom.
Why?
Just social talks. I didn't realize I was like my mom until I had a 17-year-old. I have a 17-year-old teenager now that
Were they 17?
Yeah. And like, I remember being in public with my mom and she'd always talk to people. It didn't matter where we were. She would just start rambling on. I remember the latest one was when I took my dog to the vet and she ended up passing away eventually. She was like really sick and I'm bawling. Sorry. And I'm bawling and there's a lady sitting across from me. She's like, so what are you here for? I'm like, Mom, please don't start fucking socializing this woman. I'm trying to deal with the loss of my dog here. Yeah. And then now I'm like out with my kiddo and there's somebody and I'll just start talking to him and all of a sudden I'll start going,
That's me. Sorry.
well, man, my kid's going to be a nurse. He's starting to be a nurse. And I'm just like, Dad, shut up.
Stop.
I'm like, am I like my mom?
Yeah.
And Mike goes, yeah. Like, sorry.
That drives Jess nuts about me because like I can sit there and be in a group of people. I know none of them. And within 10 minutes, like I'm chatting it up with people.
Sure.
And it's like, I mean, so we got called to help someone move furniture and went to the place where the furniture was being stored. I was wearing I was wearing a Tinder Box t-shirt. And the guy recognized the name Tinder Box and asked if I knew Steve. And I was like, yeah, I know Steve. He goes, oh, I'm good friends with I went to school with his roommate, Connor. Like, oh, this is the first 30 seconds. And Jess looks at him. She goes, you've been here for 30 seconds and you got a drinking buddy now.
Yep.
Thank you, Tinder Box. I don't know that answer, actually. I think I'm just a hybrid of everyone. My mom, my dad.
Like, what do you get from each of them?
Communication more from my mom. I don't know what my mom would say. I don't know. I feel like I have more similarities in some ways to my dad now. I know I did when he was still living. Towards the end, I was able to talk a bit more about business with him. You know what I mean? That was a big thing for him, was business. But yeah, definitely not the greatest communicator. My dad, definitely a product of the World War II parents era of, you know, his dad was in the military. And so I'd say I don't see him ever doing a podcast if he was still around. But it's just, I don't know. I think I'm a hybrid.
Okay.
Maybe unique. I don't know. Definitely different than my brother by a lot of things. So yeah, it's a tough one to answer for me. I don't know.
I think I'm a lot more like my father. You know, both of us cigar guys. I got him a little bit more onto whiskey, but both of us have been. He was a drinker much earlier on than I was.
Yeah.
I didn't drink until after college. He drank in high school. But I mean, both like sports to an extent, but then at the end of the day, both of us just kind of want to chill, relax, even if it means being by ourselves. Like, that's when things are the calmest, when there's that quiet. Like, that's when we can actually, you know, hear our, you know, the voices going on in our head and deal with shit on our own. Like,
Yeah.
You know, being out in the woods, you know, going hunting. That's definitely something I get more from my dad. There's no one on my mom's side of the family that's like that. But then as far as like during the day and in the course of my job, yeah, I'm as talkative as my mother can be. But then in the home life, it's more just, that's the quiet. I just want to relax. Like, it's the end of the day. I've had a long day. Like, just, you know, relax that and just be quiet by yourself. My dad's happy when he's by himself watching the TV, having a cigar. That's when he's at his best.
I got a question for you guys. Why do you smoke cigars?
That's a great question.
Where did it start?
No, let's stick with mine first. Why do you smoke cigars? And you can introduce that a little bit, but why?
So for me, for the most part, like, there's a social aspect to it.
Okay.
There's two reasons I smoke cigars. One is the social side, which is really where the joy of having a cigar came about for me. I was in college, and my best friend in college, it was finals week. He was having a much harder time during finals week than I was, but that's because he was a double major in physics and mathematics.
Wow.
So finals week was stressful for him. Oh yeah. And you know, I was hanging out in his room, and at one point he goes, "Nate, I need to go have a cigar. You want one?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let me go grab one from my room." And I had gotten some of the Antonio and Cleopatras that you get at a gas station.
Nice.
Like, I still had I was still on the first 5-pack.
Very dry and nice.
Yes. And so I go and I grab one of those. I come back and he goes, "Oh, is that what you're smoking?" I'm smoking this. And he was smoking, it was a Drew Estate Natural Robusto. I think it was the Elixir 550. And I'm smoking one of this. This is going to burn for like an hour. So you might want to go grab two. And I start to turn. He goes, "Unless you want one of mine." Like, "Yeah, sure." And he hands me a cigar that at the time was actually made by Tarano. And I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll take one." And he and I went out to the smoking box on campus. And for the next hour, just two of us, just talking about life. It was quiet. It was dark. There was nothing. I mean, the whole town had 4,000 people, and that included the 1,200 students at the university. So it was a very small town. So it was very quiet, and you know, there was that connection of just being still in the moment.
Yeah.
That then led me to start enjoying cigars. That then led me to go to cigar events. And that's when I learned the social aspect and being able to smoke with people. And then you hang out at a cigar shop, and you'll come across people from all walks of life if you hang out in a cigar shop long enough. and you'll develop some amazing relationships and friendships. It's like, oh, you need help with like some plumbing in your house. Cool. Here's this guy. He's a plumber. Oh, you need help with this. Cool. This guy's a contractor. You need help with this. Cool. This guy's an attorney. You need help with, oh, this guy does this for a living. And so that's why when Jess and I ever go on vacation, we try and find a cigar shop, because if we ever get separated, go to the cigar shop, because it's going to be the safest place. And then you also know there's going to be people there that can help you, whichever side you're on. There's people at that shop.
Yeah.
Even though you're a complete stranger, like oh, you got separated, like you guys lost. Cool. Like hang out here. You're good to go. They'll take care of you. Doesn't matter if you're the guy or the girl, like they'll sit there and make sure everything's all right, and they'll help you out if need be.
Yeah.
And so there's a community aspect to it. On the personal side and being at home, there's that sitting outside on the patio, quiet. I'm to my own thoughts, which could be good or bad, but like it's just you to reflect there in the moment without any of the outside noise that sometimes life throws at you, and it allows you to reflect on things and then also work through it in your own mind. Like, all right, this is what's going on. Like, what do I need to do? But there's a still and calmness there from just relaxing, having the cigar. But the cigar kind of helps put you in that mood, because you're not sitting there chain smoking it. You're not puffing on it every 10 seconds like a cigarette. You're not jonesing for a fix. It's one of those things like, I'm going to go outside and have a cigar. Like I'm getting away. Like that's me getting to my time. And it sometimes can help reset your focus.
Sean, how about you? Why do you smoke cigars?
I smoke them. It relaxes me, and a lot of it kind of tells what Nate says. I have that patio out back, so there's usually, like, after my last day of work during the week, I'll go out that night and either have a fire or just have a cigar if it's too hot. And it definitely relaxes me, and like I said, it allows me just to kind of be lost in my own thoughts. And I don't know, it almost helps clear my mind with just like, if it's, my job can be pretty stressful, and to be able to have that as my kind of my go-to to just kind of relax and just have time to myself. And yeah, you can go out there and not smoke a cigar, but there's something about, for me, there's a flavor to it. There's a feeling you get, like there's nicotine there. So there's that feeling of not really a buzz, but just kind of puts me in a relaxed state. And it just kind of, for me now, it just goes hand in hand with when I really want to just get away from everything. And I think that when I think I started back in the early 90s, I was smoking, and it was the same thing. I was like, probably, fucking Philly blunts and shit, and didn't know anything from anyone. And when I had my first like real cigar, I was like, oh my God, this is, really, it's good. And it was something like I started golfing, and that went hand in hand, golf and cigars. And
sure.
And I think that as I remember, I always had my certain cigars I would do and I would have, but over the years, I started learning more about it and seeing all the different brands and types and flavors. But what really set me off was getting to know you guys about 6-7 years ago. Like, I've known you before that, but I really got to know you once I started coming to the podcast and learning about the different flavor profiles and learning about how they blend with other things, like with bourbon or whiskey, and being able to take that knowledge and broaden my horizons. And I have you guys to thank for that, because like I was so kind of like one dimensional with certain ones that I only smoke. And now I'm like, I'll smoke whatever, anything I've never, like, now I'm more like, when I go to the shop now, I'm like, surprise me, give me something that's different. But that really kind of opened my eyes to, there's a whole bigger world out there. And I love being a part of that. And the other part is the social aspect. It is I'm a lot like you, Nate, with, I can go in a Tinder Box and if it's busy and if there's a guy sitting around me that I don't know, within a minute or less, we'll start talking. And it's like we've known each other forever. And I've never had a bad experience with anybody at any cigar shop. And especially if I go out of town, you know, I meet people there, and I've been able to, you know, just learn about life through other people and what they've gone through and how much similarities there are with people. And I've never been more like, you know, people have their groups and they have like their, you know, the people that the fitness people do the CrossFit and the Orange Theory, or people go to church and do that. And like, to me, like, this is the only community that I can go to on a consistent basis. And I look forward to, and I'm excited to walk in the door and be able to say, I can't wait to meet up with the people that I know, but I'm also can't wait to meet that person that I've never met.
I like that.
Because I know that it's going to develop out of something, because I think we all go into the shop with the same mindset of like, I'm going to go in there to chill and have a good conversation. You know, there's never really any troublemakers that really go in there. I'm going to fuck with people. I'm going to go cigar. You know, that's not where you go.
That's the worst place to do
Yeah.
that shit.
And I think that, you know, and just being in the community and being with you guys in the past few years, going to these 10 events and these guys that come in, like, to be able to talk to an Eric Espinosa or Ricky Rodriguez or any of those guys. And they're just like, they're the same type of people that would be in the cigar shop with you, that they don't look down on you. They look at you as a regular person. And if you treat them the same way, you can have great conversations with these people just like you can anywhere else. And it's funny, sometimes I step back and I'm like, holy shit, like, I just met this guy and this guy and this guy. We fucking just talked for like a half hour. I sat with this person, and like, it's just such a neat opportunity. And I've never seen any other place really like it, where you can kind of just be yourself. I think that's the big thing too. You walk in there and you're yourself. You be yourself. You can be who you want to be. You don't have to put on an act. And if you do, people see it through immediately, and they'll call you on it. So I think that's what really like now more, I, you know, smoke now more to relax and chill, and to be able to, you know, meet new people. And, you know, when I go out of town for work, and I'll find the nearest smoke shop, and all of a sudden you go in there and like, they've got all the similar cigars. And I'm like, oh, have you ever met, you know, we talk about like, oh, my buddies from, we had a smoking 10 event, and Ricky Rodriguez and, you know, Espinosa was there, and you guys ever met? No. Well, man, if you ever do, you know, make sure you talk to them about this, or they're great guys. And oh man, I hope that they come in, you know. And so you can, like, not only can you get help from other people, or just gain knowledge from other people, but you can also give it. So there are people that have, you know, there's a guy that I met a few weeks ago that I've known him, but I sat down and talked, and we have very similar health issues. And we sat there for hours and just talked about like, how are you getting through this? And how do you get through that? And
Trading war stories.
Yeah. And it's, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, you know, and that's just me with a few people. But you step back and look at the whole community that throughout the country. It's like, my God, there's so many amazing people out there that you really get to meet. So,
Yeah.
Sorry, I went on a tangent there.
No, you asked the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, for me, why do I smoke cigars? It has changed over the years. And I feel like I kind of go back to the overall relaxation from it. I think it's, for me, you know, I love the flavor, depending on the cigar.
Yep.
It's something to do, which is also, it's a hobby, turns into a lifestyle, career for some. But it's something to do with all of these things, with other people, by yourself, and it kind of forces you in a sense, but allows you to sit or do something. But you've got a commitment there, right? You know, you've got a commitment of whatever size cigar you have, that you don't want to cut it short. You don't want, and it's something that a lot of us struggle to do on a regular basis, is just to do all those things, reflect, and to talk, and to do all these things. It's a hobby that as you get older, you lose touch with people, and you start new relationships over the hobbies as you get older. And so it's kind of nice. But I tell you, if you've ever smoked a cigar I compare it to the allure and the tough temptation not to stare at a fire.
Mhm.
You know, there's something with it that I know when you say it out loud, what we're doing is that you have a bunch of rolled leaves together and you light fire, and you don't even inhale cigars. So it's like you're literally sucking on this bundled up leaf or bundled up leaves and putting smoke in your mouth and then in the air. But when you see the smoke dancing just like a fire,
Sure.
there's something that is very natural, I guess, and calming about it. But as you get into it more, for me, it's learning more about it. It's trying different flavors, and it does at some point become a part of who you are.
Mhm.
Is that you smoke cigars, and it's not because you have to, because you choose to. And hopefully you smoke within your budget, obviously, in your lifestyle. But it's definitely something that's not for everyone. But, you know, for me, it's just been a part of my life, you know, as long as you guys as well. And you know, who would have thought it would have been? I've been selling cigars longer than I've done anything else in my life as far as career, which I would never have guessed. You know, looking back, I would never have guessed that. So it's just a really, for me, smoking a cigar is truly enjoying life. If you enjoy smoking cigars, you are allowing yourself to enjoy the time that we have on this earth. And it can be by yourself, or for me, it started socially for sure. And once I started socially doing it back in the late 2000s, that's when to your guys' point, you meet a lot of people, they become great friends. Ray Cheshire, who's been on the feed tonight, living halfway across the world, I met him smoking cigars when he lived in Columbus, and he was part of a group of people that went to the Tinder Box, and that was something that we did. Went to Fido, we did all this, you know, just hanging out, and it's you're doing something, and then when you're around other people doing the same thing, that becomes almost the aura or the atmosphere, the background of everything else that's greater that comes from it.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's why I smoke cigars to this day.
I think when I meet somebody that's like just starting or interested in it, I get overexcited. I'm like, oh, you are? Oh, well, here, have a lighter, have a cutter. You know, like, what do you want to know about it? You know, like, I want to be able to share what I've learned and what the knowledge is that I have, but just to be able to.
There's a passion there.
Yeah. And
you want other people to experience it with the same enthusiasm and passion as you do.
Yep. It's if I had to sell that, it'd be a piece of cake. Like I could, if I could work and do what you guys do and make what I'm making now. Yeah. I would do it.
You want to travel a lot, or, you know, go buy a farm.
Here's a triangle. You got this, and this. Pick two.
Yeah, right.
I know. But when you get somebody, I think it's cool too, is when you finally, like, somebody that is starting out and they're interested, and it's like I mentioned my buddy Tom, who's he walked around the world and he just started somewhat smoking. And I remember when he came through Columbus, and when we would get together, I'd always bring him a bag of cigars, but it was always like, let's go have a cigar. And it gave us a time to just chill, uninterrupted, and being able to have a good conversation. And I think when I see them have that, and I can see that same look I have, like, oh my God, this is so nice. I really enjoy this. Like, that's what it's all about. You know?
Yeah.
So
one of the things I love about the cigar community, as well as my primary job, where, you know, I'm selling spirits and wine, is when you have that person that comes in and, you know, they already partake in one of those hobbies, we'll call it, or vices, and you make a recommendation. When that person then comes back,
yes,
and says, "Oh, you recommended this. that was awesome. That was amazing. Like that, there's a joy
Sure.
that comes over me that I'm like, thank you. It's like, it's not necessarily a pride thing. Like, oh, that just means I know what I'm talking about. It's like, no, like I recommended something, this person, and you see them like, I really like this. Like, what else you got?
Yeah.
Like if everything else you got's this good, like I want to keep going with that. Like it's,
I'm sure
for me, that's one of the things I love about my job is, there, working at Tinder Box, I always get people that'll come in there, especially on Sundays. Like, oh, this must be the greatest job. You just, get to sit around and smoke cigars all day. And I'm like, well, it's still retail. But you still have to deal with people.
Mhm.
Not every person is going to be as nice as you are, as welcoming to advice and opinions. Like you're going to have people that come in and they're kind of jerks, and that kind of sours the moment for a while. But then you have that person that's like, yeah, I came back because you recommended this. That was great. Like, what else you got? When you get that one person that comes back and tells you how much they enjoyed what you recommended, like you recommended it because you enjoy that as well. That one person, that one compliment can negate 10 rude customers.
Sure. I bet you
Like you could sit there and have an asshole of a customer come in, and then you have one customer that comes in and goes, dude, that cigar was awesome. That bottle was awesome. I really enjoyed it. When you go home and your spouse asks you, so how was your day? That's the story you're going to tell.
Sure.
You're not going to tell the story about the asshole until later on. The first thing you're going to talk about is that interaction with that customer, because that was the highlight of your day.
I think another thing for it'd probably be cool too, and I'm sure you've had this done before, is people are like, well, I only smoke this. And you go, well, would you want to try something different? And then all of a sudden they come back and go, oh my God, I had no idea what I was missing.
My favorite is I had a customer come in and said, and it's fitting because we're smoking a cigar made by AJ Fernandez for H. Upman. But the guy came in and asked him what he liked, and he's like, well, I don't like anything from AJ. I was like, oh, okay, which is kind of surprising because AJ makes some really fantastic cigars, but okay. Well, how about this? Have you ever had this cigar? And nope, never had that before. I'm like, well, here's what I think of it. Here's what I get. If you like medium full, rich, heavy flavor, I think you'll like that cigar. All right. That person buys that cigar. 30 minutes later, I go like, hey, what'd you think of that cigar? Oh man, that cigar was awesome. Cool. That's made by AJ.
Yeah.
I don't always tell them
There's
that.
a giant wall of a lot more.
But it's like, but no, I mean, there are people who are like, no, I don't like anything from so-and-so. Well, what have you had? Well, I've had this one. Like, well, that's not the best representation of their portfolio. That person makes 100 cigars. You smoked one and made
trying new things.
You made an assumption about them based on one bad experience.
I like what you posted from Ray.
Oh yeah, Ray put up there. There's a camaraderie around cigars. People you never engage with under any circumstances light up a cigar, and you're drawn to go over and speak to them.
Yep.
I mean, again, that's that common bond, the common hobby, right?
I love that.
There's a brotherhood, sisterhood of that. I mean, that's anything that you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting that but it's not uncommon that like a commodity, there's no real value, if you will, to the end consumer other than the enjoyment of it.
There's not a monetary value.
Well, there's definitely a monetary value. That's what I'm saying.
But
to the end consumer, though, the experience of smoking a cigar.
It's the experience.
Absolutely. There is no benefit other than, if you want to argue, the health aspects of it, depending on what you know, what you think. I had a customer, and then let's pick another card before we kind of round out here. But he smokes. He loves Padron. 1926, number 48, certain size, certain blend, Maduros. Came in the other night, and he said, I tell you what, I'm going to take naturals. And we're like, oh, let's see if we have any, because he came in regularly enough, not like every day, but like he would buy a couple boxes of these to come in 10-count boxes, and he'd come back in. So we tried to keep a stock of these. And he said, well, I my doctor said that the Maduros aren't as good for you as the natural leaf. And I said, all right, well,
Okay.
I'll bite. Why? Why did he say that? He said, well, the way they make them darker, he said, is that they soak them in stuff that isn't healthy. And I said, okay, well,
See, Ryan.
you're right. I said, I'm not going to like just flat out disagree with your doctor. You know what I mean? But I said, I'm curious. And he's like, I'm the one that type of research these things. I said, and I want to hear next time you come in what you found out. Cause he also doesn't want to tell his doctor that he's not listening to him because he's that kind of guy also. Sure. So I told him, I said, well, from everything I've known for over a decade being in this business is that it's actually part of the fermentation process and the way that they sit in pilones and the temperatures. So it's about that fermentation. There was a time that some companies got in trouble for quote, painting the leaves to make them look darker. And you would actually get it once the saliva hit, you see it on your lips, see it on your fingers and all that stuff.
Oh, shit, yeah.
You'll see it sometimes just from like the oils, but like it was apparent. People, like companies got scorned for it. And so he left and bought a box of Maduros and a box of Naturals. He's like, I just want to be able to tell I'm trying. No problem. As soon as he left, I did a quick Google search just to make sure I was right.
Sure.
Google AI, all the articles that came up were all about basically it's definitely a difference in temperature of what they try to keep the leaves at to have the natural versus the Maduro shade of it. So I can't wait for it to have him come in again just to see. Flip another card there.
What sports team of any era would you want to play on?
Are you good at that sport? Are you able to compete, or just be on the bench?
Let's say you're able to compete enough to where you're making the squad.
Oh Lord!
I think I may know one of Steve's answers.
Well, I got two, but yeah,
I'm thinking the
I got
Bears
three.
Super Bowl championship.
85 Bears. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
You'd probably have a better chance with the 85 Bears than any of the 90s era Jordan Bulls.
Actually, if I had to pick now,
I figured you might go with Bulls.
I'd like to. No, actually, I would probably say the 2016 World Series winning Cubs.
Oh,
that's a good one.
Going baseball. All right.
Yeah.
Why?
Think so. Because of how big that was, and I played baseball. I was better at baseball, but I wanted to be better at basketball because of the 90s Bulls growing up. But I just wasn't there, and I would never be MLB good at baseball, but I definitely probably, if I would have committed myself more to that, several people in my life had told me in high school and growing up that if I would have dedicated myself, I was more committed, I would have been, would have been better on a high school team, would probably be able to play, maybe not D1, but you know what I mean? Like D3,
Sure.
D2 baseball. So it's one of those things. It's probably would have been on that. Just the history behind that with the Cubs, being 108 years and just the amazing season and the hype behind it. Everyone, not everyone, but when you have your Indians fans in the World Series, saying that if they had to lose to someone, it would have been the Cubs that year. And most of the world of sports that, not Ray, who appreciated American sports because he says, all right, I'll see you.
That's Ray.
Yeah. So I'd say the 2016 Cubs.
Nice.
Sean?
1988 national championship Notre Dame football team. One of the bigger reasons is because my cousin was on that team. So it'd been cool to play with my cousin.
For sure.
And just, I remember kind of being a part of like meeting some of the players and meeting the coach, meeting Lou Holtz, and working with my cousin in the summer before the national championship with him punting, and he was a starting punter. But to be on that team would have been cool, just to have that experience. I mean, I just think that it was pretty awesome every week to go on, watch TV. I'm like, oh my God, there's my cousin. He's fucking punting, he was a punter, but it was, it was better than, it was just a neat the season was amazing, and to be able to like I remember they beat Miami, who was like undefeated for like 2 years straight, and they beat him at the wire, and so there was some really good games there, but just
And you're running out of the tunnel, hitting the sign.
yeah. And I think that's what I would do.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Nate, how about you?
There's a few years for the same team I could pick, but I'm going to go the 1990 Cincinnati Reds.
Mhm.
So that year they went wire to wire, won the World Series, swept the A's, even though they were actually the underdog in that series. But like some of my favorite players, because in the 70s you had the Big Red Machine, Pete Rose and a bunch of other guys on that team that are almost all of them are in the Hall of Fame or soon to be in the Hall of Fame. But the 1990 Reds, Barry Larkin is my all-time favorite player.
Nice.
But then you had Chris Sabo, Eric Davis, Paul O'Neill, the Nasty Boys, the three pitchers that they had. That was just a great team. But then also, one of the World Series games was in Cincinnati, and my dad got 2 tickets to that game and went with his father, who was a Reds fan.
Nice.
So I'm sitting there thinking, how cool would it be to be in a World Series game and your dad and grandfather are in the stands watching you? Like,
Pretty awesome.
how fucking awesome would that
Pretty
be?
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. That's a good question.
Sean, you got any questions as we close out?
No questions. I just so happy to be back on the show. Like it's life gets in the way and everyone gets busy, and I'm glad to be able to be back on, and whether I'm behind the camera or here, and just when you talked about smoking cigars and what got you into it and stuff, or why did you start? And I remember, man, my first year coming every week, like I would stay here until the 2 a.m. and I'm like, now I look back, I felt bad because Steve's like fading on me every time, and I'm like, I just want to be immersed in all this, so
I need this.
yeah. And I just really miss it, and didn't realize how much I did until I've finally come back, and I'm just glad to be able to be back in the community again, and hope to continue to be that way, come back and be more involved, whether I'm just on the back, out in the back behind the camera talking or whatever, just being in this atmosphere. And it's something I continue to, but always look forward to coming to, because it is a nice break throughout the week when, I have a job that's pretty demanding, and to be able to just kind of disconnect, and it's just one of the many reasons that I love being a part of it. So thanks for having me back on.
You are probably the most frequent visitor in the garage on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it was a lot easier when Steve lived right down the street from me.
Yeah.
But
Now he's got to drive 3 miles.
God damn it, man. What the fuck? This is bullshit.
but no, like
Sorry.
no, to you though, is one of those things where like you want to be a part of this, even though you're not on this side of the camera.
Yeah.
Like there's still that camaraderie, that group.
Of course.
Like
Yeah.
you still enjoy being here.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't on the show, you were in the garage, and
And to look back and all the people that I've got to meet,
Yeah.
throughout the years. I mean, there's fucking owners of distilleries and cigar creators. And it's like I feel like I definitely have not an advantage, but I'm like, I got not spoiled, but it's like not too many people can do something like that on a weekly basis and be able to be a part of something that you really not only enjoy, but get to just the stuff I've learned from you guys, just with different flavors and types of cigars and types of bourbon and types of whiskey, and creating friendships with people after the show. And, I remember like it was on last week. Like he's one of the guys that I really hit it off with immediately. And, anytime I see him, it's like we just pick up from where we left off. But there's just I could name hundreds of people now because I feel like I've done at least 100 or been to like these.
That's
And
awesome, though. I like that.
It is. And then like the with Ray and like, to tell people like, yeah, I'm on a podcast. My buddy, he's from Vietnam, but he logs in from halfway around the world. And to be able to, just nothing like it. So yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I'll let you round it out after me, but I'll echo that. It's been quite a journey over the last several years.
Yeah.
3 garages now.
Yeah. Wow.
A lot has happened in my life in the last several years doing this podcast and the people that I've met. And to speak to your point, it was great. During 2020 when people had the time, we had even more people. You were on a remote one there that one time with Alan Rubin, who owned Alex Bradley.
Christ.
I had,
Holy shit.
I could tell on remotely talking about his time in Nicaragua.
Oh yeah, that trip.
He was holding a towel to some guy's head that got a machete that hit
Took
his
it-
ear.
Yeah.
And just to have people, it's
Surreal.
always so funny. You look at other podcasts of I think we did something and it has never gotten super huge, but it's been a loyal following from the people that follow it, and that's why I like doing these community Q&A. And my apologies for not getting this out there sooner, but it is interesting after the hiatus, seeing the numbers. They've gone up, they've gone down. I see some familiar names and faces tuning in, but Sean, I like your point that you don't realize when life is happening around you and you get bogged down with it. There's some things that you do have, and that's the question I had of why do you smoke cigars? It's so relevant for so many other things that people enjoy, because there are times you don't literally have the time to do some of the things you enjoy because the priorities that will overtake your time. But there's the people you talk to that, oh, I don't do that anymore. Hey, what's new? Nothing, and all that stuff. And it's like, hey, have you seen that thing on Netflix? Like, oh yeah, I crushed that in a weekend. And you're like, oh. So it's not a time thing necessarily. And to have a podcast where we've had people where in this industry, and thanks to the Tinder Box at Easton where I work, that actually cultivated a lot. But even on the distiller side, where I don't sell whiskey, I don't do anything, and we, like last week we had a bottle of Jephthah Creed, and we had the owner and Chris, the rep in our garage, the old garage. How long ago was that?
Yeah.
And because of that podcast with Tyler and Hector being on, and then Chrissy from Executive Cigar, who is an Espinosa Lounge, wanted to actually, with some of the new stuff, get some Jephthah Creed at the lounge for some of their Espinosa stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got an email from Chris, who had been in the garage years ago, who's the rep for Jephthah Creed, said, hey, I heard from Chrissy at Executive Cigars that you guys had that on there, and it looked like that bottle could be a refill. Can I send you one?
Nice.
And I said, absolutely. Or if you want us to feature something else from you guys and have you back on either in the garage or remotely. It's just been a really weird thing. There is a part of me that wishes that it would have gotten a little bit bigger, but it's been a lot just to keep this thing going at the level it's going. And it's been fun that the people from the cigar industry remotely, but even cooler, where it's like hey, you want to do a podcast? Sure. I'll be in Columbus area, from the bourbon world, from the cigar world, from you guys and other people, and coming to you live from a cul-de-sac in Columbus or now Westerville, Ohio, in a garage in a neighborhood. It's like, this isn't even a cigar shop. It's not. It's not a big lounge. It's not a bar. We're literally sitting in a garage, and the fact that we've had that many people, to your point, even live in the garage, sitting at this table, and even beyond this, not that this is fancy, but at one point it was literally that table right there that's sitting in front of us, a square folding table.
That was what it started.
It was a card table.
Yeah.
And we're sitting around, kind of, and people were tuning in.
Yeah. And
appreciate people actually tuning in still.
you mentioned Jeff the Creed. Like when they came, I was there and behind the camera, and I met the Chris and the owner, and I went last summer to visit, and I emailed the owner.
Oh yeah.
And she wasn't able to make it, but when I walked in and said my name, they were like, "Oh yeah, she said that you were coming. We're told to take care of you." And so they gave us like a really nice. They gave us like an extra special tour, and made sure we were taken good care of. And it's like, it's just fucking cool,
Super cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think back to that episode in the original garage when Josh Bentley, not the first episode, but that episode where Josh Bentley and Paul Waller.
Yeah, that's when they became sponsors.
Were in the garage. They weren't even on the show. They were just in the back watching. Steve and Jake, and I don't remember if you guys had a third person up there.
Bobby that day.
And like after the intermission, Josh is like, "Hey, can I get on?"
Mm-hmm.
Like this is something I want to talk.
Josh was new.
Yeah, he was new with Altadis. He's like, "This is something I want to talk about this. You guys are gonna like."
We're talking about family.
Yeah, and Josh got on there, and I mean, it was natural for him to be on and talk about, and he just fit right in with topics and everything. And just the way Steve and Jake presented the show and this sense of community and family that was there from the beginning, that is still there to this day.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's when those people were like, "Oh, there's a genuineness to this. Like, this is something we want to get behind." Yes, it doesn't have the biggest following.
Surprisingly bigger than some in the cigars and bourbon.
But like when there's a lot of, because I was talking the other day with another person in the bourbon influencer world who's much bigger than we are, and like we were talking about how with some of these people that you see on social media, like there's this disingenuousness that is easy to pick up on. Sean, you alluded to it when you're talking about being in a cigar. You can tell whether someone's being fake or being real.
Yep.
It's the same thing with some of these things on social media. You can tell someone who's doing this just to be able to get the views, and granted that that may make them a paycheck and stuff, but they're saying whatever needs to be said in order to get those views. It may not even be genuine. They're just saying whatever it takes to get the job done.
Yeah.
But then when other people watch, us up here and different guests, there's always this genuineness. We get guests on here that have done other cigar podcasts or they've done bourbon podcasts, and then they walk away from this and like, this is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, like I thought I was gonna be, or people that are first time, like they may be in one of those industries, but this is the first podcast they ever do. Like they're super nervous, they don't know what to talk about. But then the way Steve leads it on and just introduces them and just makes them feel at home, they relax, they open up, and there's that genuineness that I think people really pick up on. And the listeners of this show and in those communities, like they see that genuineness shine through and that authenticity, and you can't shortcut that.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. But I will build off of that. There was a time when we were trying to build it. It was probably 3-4 years ago. And there were even some local ones, local Facebook groups, and even some national or whatever, how big they were. And we were sharing it to them, and they started like reporting it and basically like cut us out. Like, this isn't about self-promotion. And my response to them was, it was like after we had say it was a bourbon one. And it was like, we had like
the master distiller
on doing a podcast. They're like, "Oh, you're just trying to promote your brand." And I'm like, at the time, it was even bigger of a thing to do like these crotch shots of like what they grabbed at the local drop. And it's like, you can do that and show like this bottle that we're drinking tonight. Like, "Hey, look what I snagged at the thing." And I'm like, I literally have the master distiller on a interview / candid podcast talking about them, about the distillery, about what we're drinking, and talking about all this stuff for fucking 2 to 3 hours. But you're saying I'm just trying to promote our brand that has never really been a brand to make money.
Yeah.
Would have been sweet if it did, but like that wasn't what we were doing it for.
No.
And it's like you'd rather talk about what you bought versus actually I've got the person that did what you bought.
Yeah.
And you're just worried about it because I'm not following suit with what you guys want to promote, which is just bragging about what you spent money on. Like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
So.
And how often do you think that like these big name cigar and distillers, like how many podcasts do you think, like it's funny because usually after every podcast, especially ones that are here, like bigger names will get done and be like, that was amazing. Like I don't do many podcasts, but this one was really cool because it's unique.
It is.
And
Yeah.
and how many do you think they do and be like, oh my God, do I have to just sit there and talk about the same shit?
Same interview over and over again. But
Yeah.
but the thing is from their vantage point, you have to understand they're in business also. So they want to do stuff that people are listening to. So we'll see what we can do. You know, now that we're back chugging along here, we'll see what we can do. Production value is not the highest. This is, you know, more than some. It's less than a lot of others. And we don't have like 6 cameras. We're not doing the armchairs and the classic views of, you know, like a lot of the podcasts. But the one thing I like about it is that it's, to your guys' point, it's genuine. And it's just, this is what we're doing.
It's unique.
And hopefully you enjoy it. Ryan Venrick, who was here, now he's hopefully home. He just did a big yes. So obviously, you know, we got Ryan from Watershed, who has been on the show in the last few weeks. I love it. He's local, so he's texted me and he's like, he knows this every other week. So he's like, is there a show this week? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And so now the last couple of weeks, the last couple of shows, he's not on the show, but he's enjoying it.
He's going to be my new backstage buddy.
There you go. There you go. All right. So with that being said, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I'll take these banners off of here. And I just want to thank you guys for being a part of the show. We're going to keep it going. 2 weeks from now, on the 28th, we're going to have 4 Branches whiskey, and they're going to be on the show. One of the founders and also Greg Snyder, who we've had on before. So it'll be a great show coming up. Hopefully, Sean, you'll be over here if you're available. I also want to remind anyone that is listening all the way to the end, stay tuned. But at Tinder Box at Easton, we're going to have a friend of the show, friend of Tinder Box, friend of a lot of you guys. Ricky Rodriguez is going to be in the Tinder Box at Easton on Thursday, May 29th. And he's going to be there for a cut night. He wants to see you guys if you're local. We'll have some specials going on, but definitely just to hang out with Ricky. He regretted not being able to come to the Smoking 10 event, but he will be there in the shop just to see you guys. So put out some more details here this week, as well as stay tuned. Friday the 13th is happening in June. And also on Friday the 13th, Eric Espinosa himself will be in Columbus at the Tinder Box at Easton and Fido Irish Pub and Restaurant. And we're going to have a special, hopefully, release of some of the new stuff we just talked about with Tyler and Hector, the last episode. So, guys, happy Whiskey Wednesday and cheers. Thank you very much, Sean. Good to have you back. Thanks for the bottle.
Yep.
Nate, good seeing you as always. Cheers, guys.